Hey, Drew, guess what?
What?
We're in an advertisement.
Well, that is neat.
Anchor has asked us to help advertise the platform we use for this very podcast.
Using Anchor has made it really easy for us to distribute our podcast across almost every streaming service and has helped us grow to the point we're at now.
Yeah, thanks, Anchor. You're the best.
If you have any questions about using Anchor, please reach out to us. We'd love to share our personal experience with you and help you get started doing your own podcast.
All right, let's start the show. It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? It's a neighborly day in this beautywood, a neighborly day for a beauty. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? I've always wanted to have a neighbor, just like you. I've always wanted to live in a neighborhood with you. So let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, you might as well say, would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Won't you please? Won't you please? Please, won't you be my neighbor? I am your host, Christopher Sinclair, with my co-host, Drew Garrison. How are you doing today, Drew?
Ding, ding. That was the hardest I've ever had to work to not just bust up laughing during the entire thing.
That's great.
And I have to tell you, the reason why is because me and my wife did this weird thing where we'll just read music quotes to each other and lyrics.
Really?
Yeah, like you, and just
great.
like just the way that you just did that, we do the same thing. Like we usually do it like on like road trips and stuff like that when we're kind of bored. And I don't, like that itself sounded so weird. It's a song that I've heard a million times, right? But having somebody just read it was the most ridiculous thing ever. And so we've done that multiple times. And there's a couple of songs that like you can do that with that are very unsettling when you just read the lyrics. And I don't want to blow it for anybody, but you should definitely do that with Jen because it's fucking hilarious when you.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So
I'm willing to say that I'm a fairly ridiculous human being myself, and am rather off-putting in person. So the fact that I read that and it came off that way just makes sense, really.
Yeah. It was perfect.
Well, great. What are you drinking today, Drew?
Today I am drinking some Black Tot, and
there you go.
I've been drinking a lot of Black Tot recently.
I wonder why.
And the reason being is because there's nothing else to do, and and I actually became friends with the national or the global brand ambassador, Mitch Wilson.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's been a lot of fun. It's been like super, super fun to get to know more of the story and stuff like that. So for people who are unfamiliar, the Black Tot was originally created as kind of like a celebration or not really a celebration, but it was kind of like a funeral for the daily tot that the British Royal Navy used to get every day as part of their rations. And that was ended in 1970. And in 1970, when they finished that, it was like I think July 31st, 1970. And so that became known as Black Tot Day. Well, at the time, the British Royal Navy was producing around, I think, 8 million gallons a year of rum.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, from start to finish, I think it entered Parliament on like July 28th. And then within a couple of days, it was, cut. And then by the 31st, completely done. So you can imagine that's not like really a whole long time to blow through 8 million gallons. And from there, like, the Navy was storing all this rum, so it kind of ended up in all these different places. And then eventually, Sukhwinder Singh, who owns a whiskey exchange, started to track it down and just bought all the last of it, the stuff that he could find from people. And so it ended up creating like this really crazy rum that like a lot of independent bottlings that we're aware of and stuff like that, is it's super rare, right?
Yeah,
Now
it's extra
with
rare. Yeah.
yeah, with a rare, you know, spirit comes a very high price tag. So I think wholesale you can get a bottle of that stuff for like $1,000, maybe 1,200 at this point, because obviously the more bottles that sell, the less there is.
Right.
So these guys
And
wanted
you've had that, right? You've had that, some of that original batch,
I
right?
have.
Or at least some of the bottlings. Because did you have it the first time at Jungle Bird or what?
I did.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah. See, I still haven't tried it yet, and I need to get on it. I mean, I'm pretty well prepared for what the experience is, but it's still one I would like to have.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not necessarily like the greatest tasting thing in the world. A lot of that has to do with the fact that it did sit in barrels for probably a little bit too long, and then it was put into different vessels, and not everything was stored the best. But when it comes to drinking something like that, that will never be made again, like that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's
So
super cool.
yeah, and so what they decided to do is, because they are getting to the point where they're getting to the last of it, and they call it the last consignment. So it's almost gone. So they wanted to release something in addition to it, because there's other rum reserves that they have like within their own collection that they want to start bottling, but they want to keep it underneath this Black Tot lineup. It's a infamous brand name. People are aware of it, so why not capitalize on that, right? And so what they did was they created a blend that would have been similar to the one that they were serving to the British Royal Navy, for hundreds of years, but obviously not the same stuff. So it's a blend of Guyana, Barbados, and Jamaican rum, and
Oh,
it's
cool.
a really, really fun sipper. It's a really, really approachable price point too, so you can get it retail for about 60, 55, 60. And it's just been a whole lot of fun to kind of sip on this bottle. And it's got this really beautiful design. It's black and orange, which I'm just a sucker for. I'm fully committed to that now. If you kind of hit me with some sort of color scheme that's black and orange, I'm probably gonna like it. So I think they they kind of drilled into my brain. They're like, "What's Drew gonna like the most?" And it was this. But it's a great sipper. But even at that price point, you can still you can cocktail with it and not feel terrible, And they just did a really, really good job. So that's what I've been sipping on. What are you drinking?
So I've got a question. The
Yeah.
Black Tot company, they're no longer producing, right? They're just sourcing.
Well, at no point were they ever producing.
Okay, so it was
So
always
so they're
sourcing.
part
And
of
okay.
they're part of Elixir Distillers, which is actually, oddly enough, they are going to be opening up a distillery on Isla. But even the Daily Tot part of the previous, like during the actual the tot given by the British Royal Navy, that was all sourced rum as well, from different merchants and stuff like that. And over the years, you can see different rum companies that kind of claim that fame, like, oh yeah, we used to provide the rum for the British Royal Navy for X amount of years. Like Lemonheart's one of those companies that does that. So it's always been kind of that case. And then so with these guys, not only did they have not only do they have their own collection of stuff, but they also really worked closely with E.H. Shear as well, which is the company that has casks of rum from all over the world.
Yeah,
So
it's walking through their warehouse is it's a bucket list item for me.
yeah, agreed. I don't know. Did I tell you that I met one of their buyers when I was at Miami Rum Congress in February?
No.
And it was so funny because it really, really great lady comes up, introduces herself, hands me her card. She's like, "Have you ever heard of us?" And I'm like trying not to fangirl, right then and there. I'm like, yeah, I guess. I mean, you guys are pretty cool. I mean, and keep in mind, I mean, they're responsible legitimately for like some of the best rums in the world. And more often than not, they actually don't allow people they don't let people tell where they got the rum from.
Right.
Or companies won't disclose it. So, but most of it's coming from them. Like their warehouses are just ridiculous. So,
Yeah, and it's this amazing, journal entry of spirits. Essentially, I mean, that's the way I view that company. I mean, obviously they make a lot of money, and they've been retailing barrels of booze for a long time.
Yeah.
To other companies, right? Like you and I can't go in there and just buy a barrel.
Not in our current financial situation, no.
It's true. But the fact that they sit on this booze for generations is incredible. I mean, people can dig up some of the most amazing shit. It's that they, because they've been around for so long, they have it.
Right. Yeah, and like one of the other releases that that Black Tot has done is like a 40-year-old Demerara, which is just insane. That you could have a rum for that long.
Yeah.
And they're also the type of people where they don't do any chill filtration on it. There's no color added either. So, like you're getting legit spirit with no helpers or anything like that.
Sure.
So that's it's just a really cool project to be a part of. I'm really happy that I've been able to develop kind of like this online relationship with Mitch. I've actually been able to jump on, a couple phone calls with him and just bullshit. And then he's also come to a couple different tastings, which has been really, really cool. And he's got another one on Thursday that what they're going to do is they have this 5 sample tasting, 4 or 5. And obviously you have like the Black Tot Finish project, but then you also have all the different rum blends that go into it. So you'll be able to taste them individually and then taste the final product of them all blended together. Neat. Yeah.
That's
and
really
so
neat.
And so it was really cool. So at one point when he was promoting, he's like, yeah, you can order it anywhere from around the world. We'll get it to you. And so I wanted to see if I could do it. And I looked it up and I was like, oh, okay, this will be here in like 20 days. And it's on Thursday. So I was like, well, next time.
Yeah.
Next time for sure. But yeah, it's just, man, it's such a cool rum. And I'm really, really happy that we have it. And I get to drink it. And it's definitely one of those bottles like in my collection that not only do I have a sample bottle that I'm going to be selling, and tasting people on and stuff like that, but then I will have my own personal bottle at home.
Right.
Always.
Right.
Sure. And so I have a couple of those when it comes to my portfolio. And this is definitely one of them. And it was what the craziest part was. I had to like keep this a secret for, oh my God, like over a year.
Oh, that JVS was acquiring?
Yes.
Wow.
It was brutal.
Yeah, you definitely didn't break it to me.
Yeah.
So.
And like, I tell you everything.
Fuck you, guy. Yeah, I know. You tell me everything.
So yeah, I think for you though, I didn't want to like tell you and then not have it immediately available to drink. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
So,
I would have been very impatient. And I think that's the reason that you know that is because you are the same way.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Yeah. I mean, don't tell me about it. Just put it in my mouth. So that's how I do it. But speaking of that, what's in your mouth? What are you drinking?
I am drinking a local wine from Kirchhoff Winery. Their Red Table blend. Jen opened it up last night to braise some steak with, and I couldn't let the bottle go bad. So
no,
it's freaking delicious. I've become really excited about drinking quote unquote local wines from Sacramento that are actually good lately. Since we since opening the store, and since before opening the store, and going through wine tastings and really trying to figure out what I wanted to do in terms of wine and where I wanted to go, and what was not just to have bullshit stuff on the shelf, right? But I had discovered Kirchhoff probably I want to say like 2 years ago. We used to be part of their wine club, and actually when we went down to cancel our membership, the tasting room attendant was like, oh, like why are you guys canceling? Is something wrong? I was like, no. I'm buying cases of this now. I don't, bringing home 1 or 2 bottles doesn't do me any good.
Right.
I'm bringing in like 6 cases at a time now, so I don't need this membership anymore. And they're like, oh, that's fine, that's good. But it's this great, it's this really fantastic wine coming out of Clarksburg, and I one of the things that I've learned recently is Clarksburg's always had its own AVA and has always produced a ton of wine. Bogle is one of the largest wine producers in the country. I don't want to say the wrong number, but my gut is wanting to say like they're like the 7th largest wine producer in the country. I think like under Gallo. And anyway, so they're huge and they've got massive presence and they come out of Clarksburg. And Bogle isn't always the dopest wine, right? Like, I mean, it's grocery store, Save Mart wine most of the time. I mean, they do have some cool stuff like the Phantom, and I carry their it's not the Armageddon. Oh crap, I forget which one it is. Anyway, mostly because it came in magnums and I love the artwork and I thought it'd be funny to carry magnums of Bogle. And I like a lot of the people who work for Bogle, so I still wanted to support them. So that's why I did that. But being approached by a lot of local winemakers, specifically coming down from the Delta or coming up from the Delta, a lot of them know each other, obviously. It's a small community, but a lot of them grew up around each other as well. So I carry also another company called Silt, and apparently the guys who own Silt Wine Company grew up with the brothers who made Kirchhoff, who make Kirchhoff wine. Like they played football together or whatever sport they played, and got their Eagle Scout together and what have you. So it's always fun having them coming into the shop, and sort of like they have this sibling rivalry sort of with each other, and they're always checking on each other's stuff to see how it's doing and asking me about it. It's nothing but love, but it's fun to watch their like little rivalry with each other.
Do you feel like there was like a run on like local wineries where like somebody got into it and then you're like, oh, now I got all these people from Clarksburg coming in like asking me to carry their wine now or anything? I mean, or is that just all the time anyways?
What, so, what do you mean from me or?
Yeah. So you bring in this wine right to the store, and they have this close relationship with this other winery, and then you also carry them. And then do you ever see a domino effect where it's just kind of like, oh, this guy's willing to carry local wines, everybody go to him, see what he says?
Well, first of all, wine sales, sales people are vultures. They are cutthroat, man. They will come in, they will spend time. They need that placement in your store, and they will figure out how to make that happen. And they will, they will not take no for an answer. So, I think also because we're located in downtown Sacramento, like directly across the street from the Capitol building, it takes money to own a vineyard and make wine and produce a brand. So I think typically a lot of the, more than a few of these people have spent time in government or spent time around government. And thereby they have friends with people who walk right past my store every single day. And so they probably got a heads up right when we opened as well, saying that we were there and that they should, bring their stuff in for us to sell and what have you. Also, we have a lot of like wine lobbyists who come in and shop from us because, again, we're right across the street. And so they want their clients, to have their booze in there. So I think there is a little bit of a domino effect, but I think it's also, just proximity.
Right. Yeah. I'm just curious. I mean, I've always, obviously I've watched plenty of my friends and accounts just deal with salespeople, myself included. And, it's always kind of funny to see how that works for them. Right. And if it ends up being like, oh, well, you come in and you leverage the fact that like, well, you already carry this from Clarksburg, like why not this, why not that? But I do have to agree with you. Without question, the most aggressive salespeople in the world are wine salespeople.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they're just,
Well, to be fair, there's a lot of competition out there, and it's, I mean, I don't know, it, and I think for the most part, wine, I don't know why that is exactly, but there's a lot of competition. One of my favorite things that I've recently found out about the Clarksburg AVA though is that they while they've been producing wine for for hundreds of years, literally out of Clarksburg, there haven't been a lot of local wines or local wineries per se, and that's because um, Clarksburg was sort of the unsung hero of Napa and Sonoma for a long time. They were selling a lot of their grapes to Napa and Sonoma vintners because the grapes were so good, and it was sort of like this unsung hero of the Napa and Sonoma boom, is because they could get dope grapes for cheaper than buying it from Napa and Sonoma and blend it into their wines. And I think now there's enough people in the AVA of Clarksburg and the rest of the Delta that they want to showcase the wine itself now instead of just selling off all their grapes. So there's a few more local wineries that are opening up and really putting out some pretty dope shit.
yeah.
I mean, I found out there's a couple vineyards down there that predate phylloxera, which is fucking cool. Like I had no idea. So that means that those vineyards have been producing grapes since the 1800s. It's amazing.
So, and just for our listeners at home, can you explain what that means?
Yeah, phylloxera was a blight on vineyards. It's how do I say this? It destroyed most of the vineyards around the world because of monoculture or monocropping or what's another way of saying that, of cloning, right? So you take the clones from one vine and you put it on another, so it's all the same vine essentially, right?
Right.
And so when you end up with a disease that harms the vine, it kills all the vines and it spreads, and as people bring it with them as they travel, and then it kills those vines in that area and everywhere. So because Clarksburg was sort of untouched, it was in the Delta foothills of the Sierras. It's so it was a little farther away. So some of these vineyards were just isolated, and they just didn't get touched by phylloxera, which is really, really, really fucking cool. It's one of the reasons also that cognac and brandy was considered so special for so long, is because we were drinking cognacs and brandies here in the U.S. Right after we started drinking rum in the U.S. It wasn't really until phylloxera hit that brandy and cognac then became this rare thing that we couldn't get our hands on. So it became ionized. It was something that people really wanted to spend their money on, and if they could spend money on it, it was like, oh, you're fucking fancy. And so cognac still has, and brandy still has that that mystique about it, right? But when that happened, Americans turned to making bourbons and making ryes and really producing that. You see that in the Sazerac, right? The original Sazerac was made with brandy. And as soon as phylloxera hit, couldn't get brandy anymore. Well, now Sazerac's made with rye. So,
yeah, it's pretty amazing, like how many of those things, there's kind of like these misconceptions that are around spirits in history, and how much of a bigger role something like brandy played. One of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to this industry is when people talk about rum and they make the automatic association with pirates. when the reality is that most pirates were drinking brandy. That was what was available at the time. And like, don't get me wrong. Like, they were obviously, being in the Caribbean and stuff like that, there was also rum consumption, but a lot of it had to do with brandy. That's what most of them were drinking. And then, you start talking about just like the things that are a little bit more prevalent in the US, before that whiskey and like, bourbon and rye and all that fun stuff, it was rum. So there's all these like misconceptions that people have, and like these little things that just change the way that we look at the world, where it's just like, oh no, this is the American spirit. It's like, well, actually this one started first, or this is what these guys drink. It's like, well, actually they drank this and then they were aging it in this, like I think a lot of people are always talking about like, well, everything gets aged in bourbon barrels. It's like, I mean, at this point, kind of, because
they're cheap, they're easy. I mean,
there's so many.
It's part of the economy, right? I mean, that's why bourbon barrels can only be used once, is so way they can resell them, and that way the lumber companies sell more wood and yada yada yada.
Yeah, and then so before then, people were aging in Spanish wine cask and all kinds of different things that they could get, like brandy cask, all these different things that they get their hands on. So it's amazing how much of an effect that had. And then, to know that these vineyards that are pretty much in our backyard, you can taste like really seriously old vines,
it's pretty fucking cool. It's really, really cool.
Yeah. So
I'm trying to think. There's I can't remember the name of the winery off the top of my head, but there's one that I tasted before the apocalypse, where that's where I learned that from, and I will find it, and I'll we'll post it, and I'll put it in the footnotes of this episode or on our social media, so that way people can get their hands on a wine that blends some of those grapes in there. Because it was really good, and it wasn't terribly expensive. We just, we weren't able to bring it in before disaster struck. So,
such a bummer.
Yeah, I mean, we will. It's on my list of things to bring in. It's really, really fucking cool.
Yeah,
but it's in this time we have to we have to deplete some of the things that just sit on our shelves first in order to pay some of those bills.
No, man, I totally get it. I mean, I know the last time that I was in there, there was more gaps than I know that you're typically comfortable with.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Like that OCD in you that you're just kind of like, ooh, I could put something there, but you're trying to get that stuff down, which is smart right now. And those are the things that you have to do. And, there's actually a lot of our stories today have to do with that. So
yeah, the retail game is so different now, right? Because it's not like we're having, customers really come into the shop like we talked about last week.
Yeah.
So that means I'm hand selling over the phone, or people already know what they want and they're calling. People aren't coming in to browse. So I don't need to have, fully flushed stock shelves. It's just not a necessity anymore. So now it's about getting the things that really move. And
well, it's about it, and it's about being creative with that, right? And it's like, how do you get these people interested? I mean, I did a happy hour on Friday, and we did it with the Black Tot Rum. And like I said, Mitch came into it and he was able to explain a lot of stuff, and he was actually a little bit late, but it was okay. Cause it was like 2:00 in the morning in the UK. So, so we'll cut him some slack there, but, he came in and like gave us an hour of just amazing information. But when it was all said and done, I mean, the dude sold 13 bottles.
That's dope. Wow. Rad.
It's just like, and that was over a computer conversation. And those are the things that, like, you kind of have to do right now. You have to get creative, and you have to know these stories and these things that people, give a shit about, because they can buy anything. Right. So
yeah.
Like, what
click of a button, man. Stuff? I mean, and especially in our game, right? Like you and me, we specialize in the lesser known brands, whether it's wine, whether it's spirits. And so it's our job. You and I have both built our careers on being able to convince people to drink dope shit that they might not know. But nowadays, you go on Amazon, you go on the Whole Foods, you can get shit delivered left and right. So You have to be creative in our shoes.
And I think that's one thing that I try to tell other people, not to give us more competition, but that you do have these big places that are coming into the competition, like onto the playing field, but they're moving a lot of those mainstream items. That's kind of like their bread and butter, is that they're going to move through the Kettle Ones of the world, the Captain Morgans, the Crown Royals, all those different things, the Jack Daniels and stuff like that. I think there's still what's really fun about the spirits in general is that you can have all those, you can have those workhorses, you can have those $1 billion brands and stuff like that, but there's so much cool stuff, and you do have to seek it out a little bit. But I think that's part of the fun, Like
yeah, great. I mean, it's more gratifying when you found something that's dope and you spent a little bit of effort rather than just be like, oh, okay, well, I just happen to get this.
Right. Yeah, dude, totally. And I think that's, it's one of the reasons that I continue to be excited about this job and about this thing that I get to do, because it's like, we get new suppliers approaching us all the time, and then you have people walking in your door who are not right now, but like, walking in your door, like, you don't know what they have or what cool shit they might be, selling. And even at the end of the day, like, if you don't buy it, like, you still got introduced to it, and that's a great way to educate yourself.
And more often than not, the people who are selling those things are pretty cool and relatively humble, because they know that their stuff is hard to sell. Right. It's not the stuff that just sells itself. So more often than not, even if I don't buy that thing, I've really enjoyed getting to at least like that half an hour long conversation that I set aside for meeting with someone.
Right. Yeah.
To hear about them, learn about them, and learn about their product.
For sure. I think that's like one thing that, eventually at some point in my career, like, I want to be on the other side, and I want to, I want people to actually come to me with stuff, and then have me tell them no. So
I tell you, it's a lot better. I've never done your job, but I already know.
Oh God. Yeah, it's definitely better. Okay. So you're drinking that wine. I'm drinking some rum. Do we have our transition music, or is that a thing yet?
I'll put it in post-production.
Okay. All right. It's a little inside baseball there for you guys. We're getting pretty fancy. Guys. We're going to have music transitions between segments. So you guys...
How funny would it be if I just didn't put that in this time? We were just talking about it. That'd be pretty great.
They'd be like, it never came. The girls never came.
The girls never came.
Yeah. That's a really... great deep cuts reference for you guys out there.
Yeah, that was good. You and I don't usually get the same movie references very often,
but
so that's pretty good.
We're not going to tell you.
Buddy, my entire friendship with Buddy Newby is based on movie references that nobody else gets.
That's amazing. He's a weird guy. That makes sense.
I love him.
And that was our new music. So that's how we're going to transition into stories now. And I think we have some entertaining ones today. And this is one that we've actually been sitting on for I guess only a week, but in COVID time period, it seems like 7 weeks. But in South Africa, they have banned the sale of all alcohol and cigarettes under a coronavirus lockdown that has triggered a wave of lootings of liquor shops. And on Sunday, they actually caught police officers who were complicit in the illegal alcohol sales. So basically what we have here is a little micro Al Capone thing going on in South Africa. In a very short amount of time.
Yeah, of course that happened.
And it's.
I mean, we were talking before, and South Africa is not the only country, or what province or anywhere, right, to ban the sale of alcohol. It's it's happening. It's around. I'm lightweight baffled by it, because I feel like there's enough evidence in history to suggest that that's probably a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean, in here they say that they've had at least 16 reported instances of burglaries and lootings of liquor stores in Western Cape Town.
Yeah, of course.
And it's just like, and then and then you have the cops involved too, where you're just kind of like I've seen this movie, like at no point in history has banning alcohol like gone well for anybody.
No, well, and South Africa went a step further also, and they banned this. They banned cigarettes. They banned the sale of cigarettes, which alcohol is one thing, man, but cutting people off from nicotine, I'm surprised that they just haven't had riots.
Well, I mean, and this was from April 12th, so we are about a week out for this. I mean, and I don't keep up on my South African news, so that place might be on fire right now. I have no idea. But I agree. I mean, that was another story that we had read that was like somewhat linked to this is and was it Thailand, where they had also banned the sale of alcohol, and there were doctors that were coming out saying like, "Hey guys, we have a pretty significant drinking problem in this country to the point where 10% of their population are considered heavy drinkers." And so there's about 100,000 people that are considered alcoholics that can now not get their fix, which, again, could lead to violence, extreme withdrawals, potentially deaths, and all this stuff. And it just
that's pretty sad.
Yeah, and it's a major bummer because, again, as you said, it's like, when has this ever worked? And then also, what's the thought process behind this? The U.S., despite all of our mistakes, like we're doing to-go cocktails. Like get on board.
Well, I mean, there's a few states. I mean, Pennsylvania seems to be getting more strict, right, and going through other issues. But a handful of states are sort of loosening everything up and making it easier for people to just stay the fuck calm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and and I think this kind of like translates or goes right into kind of our next story, where it's like you have these countries that are banning alcohol, and then in this case, like you're seeing this increase in crime and stuff like that. Whereas in the U.S., in the third week of March, there was a 55% increase in sales in the off-premise over last year.
That's intense.
Isn't that just insane? I mean, now I know I'm definitely contributing to that.
I wish I was contributing to that.
Hey, I'm doing my best with you, man. I'm buying when I can.
I know. It's fine. We're doing our best too. Any other, I feel like I should explain to our listeners why, we're not thriving in this time. My boutique liquor store is located directly across the street from the state capitol and in a part of town that's surrounded by businesses. Any other time of, the history of the world, it would have been perfect, the perfect address. But as of right now, where all business has come to a halt, we are in a ghost town where we're located. So people have to mean to come to us. It's not happening on accident right now. So
yeah, it's definitely a bummer. Like it I agreed with you. I was like, man, that place is like, that's a perfect spot. And then it just suddenly became like the worst spot.
Yeah.
To be,
I mean, like, I can't even be mad at it because like, at least we're open, I mean, there are other people who are certainly far worse off and losing their dreams, and everything that they've worked for either, last few years or their entire lives, or their parents worked for their entire lives, so we're not in that position. So at least I can laugh about it a little bit for myself, and at least try to stay well humored.
Right. Well, I mean, and it kind of gives you the opportunity to work on some other projects right now. So, you're still selling bottles, so it's not like that's completely ended. It's just, you gotta have to get, creative in different ways. And there's actually something that popped up as we were talking that I think kind of has to do with like the small businesses and stuff like that. And not to completely, timestamp our our podcast here, but over the past week, one of the things that really kind of pissed off a lot of people was the PPP ran out of money, right? So a lot of these loans that were supposed to help these small businesses that ended up getting sucked up by places like Ruth Chris and God, what was it, like the Fat Burger
Chili's.
or something like that?
Yeah, Chili's was another one.
Yeah, and Shake Shack got one of them.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah. So Shake Shack received $10 million in their loan.
Oh, fuck them, Jesus.
Well, and you're right to feel that way, but in a pretty unprecedented move, they are returning the money.
Oh, okay, I take it back.
Yeah, so unfuck them.
All right, Danny Meyer. Wow, maybe he got enough flack. Damn. Well, good for you, man, to return that money. That's great.
Yeah,
I mean, use the money to pay your employees. Like, that's fine. Or figure out, maybe your banks are willing to help you out in ways that they won't help us out. Small businesses that have one employee, right? Versus fucking Shake Shack and the rest of the Danny Meyer empire. I'm in no way am I mad at him for being successful. It's just his ability to get help far surpasses mine, and it's not meant to say that he doesn't deserve and his employees don't deserve help, in this time. I mean, this is definitely affecting everybody, but his ability to take care of them far surpasses my ability to just take care of my family. Right. I mean, that's just the facts of the world right now. And that money supposedly was meant to keep a lot of us open and paying employees and being able to maintain a solid economy once this is over. I guarantee you there aren't enough Ruth Chris's, Shake Shacks, and Chili's in the world to be able to feed everybody if all these restaurants close. So, we got to figure something else out.
Right. Well, I mean, and I think that's like kind of like the interesting part of this, right? Is, and rightfully so, there's a lot of people who are upset about this. Myself, I was upset about this, that these huge chains were getting this money as opposed to these small businesses that could have, you could have kept so many businesses open as opposed to dumping all this money into like a handful of places, right? But those handful of places, they still have employees. And
they sure do. Yeah.
And
absolutely.
Theoretically, now there were instances of people getting the money, and I can't find it right now, but I did see one of the bigger places, like, got the money, turned around, fired 1,000 employees, So,
ugh.
Yeah, gross. But there are, these places do employ a ton of people, and everybody's hurting,
Right.
Even if you're a big company, like, you are hurting. Now, again, there should have been things put in place to prevent these huge companies from getting like these massive payouts. But, that's just.
Well, I mean, to be fair, those companies deserve those massive payouts, but it needs to be something else, right? Like they need massive payouts to stay alive, whereas I don't need massive payout to stay alive. Therefore, that amount of money could go a lot farther for companies like mine, or the rest of the companies that are on my block. The 2 cafes and the spice store, and the restaurant that's around the corner, and the Caribbean restaurant that's around the corner, right? Like, we could each take the amount of money to equal like $100,000 or less, $50,000, and that would probably be enough to keep us going through whatever this is. Right. And that's 7 businesses versus 10 million, 20 million to one business.
Right. And you think about it from like the bank's perspective, is we're just assaulted with loan applications, right? So,
sure. Yeah.
So how do you start to to kind of divvy these up. And I think without question, they went, well, which ones are the biggest ones? Because they're going to make
Yeah,
more
how
money
can we
off of
make
this
the
stuff,
biggest impact?
you know? Well, is it biggest impact, or is it just kind of like, hey, if well, if we do the biggest ones, it's less work we have to do as well,
That's true.
because that money's going to run out.
That's true. Now,
You know,
and that's fair. I mean, they've processed. I mean, this is a clusterfuck all around. There's no way it won't be or couldn't be. So you can't really be too mad about that. But it's, I think where people get irritated is, at least try. Like just try to make this better for everyone else. Don't take the easy way out. Don't just try to help someone else. While you're, I don't know, if you're put in a position of authority during this time. Yeah.
right? Which, I mean, I think that's like I myself found myself to be very disappointed upon hearing that news earlier in the week, and was just very frustrated because I do see so many people struggling, but it does appear that there might be some light at the end of the tunnel, like whenever this tunnel does end. One thing that we were able to read today was that, China is opening back up, or has been, over the past like 2 weeks. And for them, in terms of like the alcohol sales, there was actually like a 25% increase in the high-end wine and rare whiskey sales with them opening back up. So
yeah, people are celebrating, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
At least that's how I interpret it.
Well, I mean, it's, they're celebrating, they've either been saving money because they haven't been going out, and hopefully that'll happen here. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. I mean, you're getting a lot of different rumors kind of swirling around. I mean, and again, because each state is kind of left to its own devices, which is kind of scary. But everybody's making all their own decisions. We actually have a mutual friend that they're on the board that's advising the governor of California right now. And, their interpretation of it so far has just been like, well, they pretty much just want us to do everything for them. They want us to like take temperatures and stuff like that. And that's just something that's just not conceivable in my mind. Right.
No.
They want them to reduce capacities by over half. Just a lot of things being put in place where they just, it's non-restaurant and industry people making decisions for this category that they have nothing to do with, and that's,
and I mean, it's not their fault, right? I mean, asking me to, give advice on the auto industry would be a terrible idea. I mean, if I was put into a position where I had to do it, I would try my damnedest, right? But undoubtedly I would make some wrong choices.
Right.
So you can't really blame people on that. But where you can hold people accountable is if they don't listen to people who do know what the fuck they're talking about.
Right. And I think it's encouraging to know that they like brought people in, and it's like people that we respect and we want to see see this through. But, we just don't know what it's going to be. I mean, I thought when they rolled out that, the first stimulus package, that people would be in a better position. And then Ruth Chris got $40 million. So, in terms of that execution, you're just kind of like, I was actually even talking to somebody about the other day. I was like, I feel like our politicians have always been like a certain level of inept, right? I mean, and to be fair, this country is just way too big. You can't do anything, like really get anything done between your party system and everything like that. It's just too big. But they've always been inept, but the stakes have never been very high. The stakes are extremely high right now, and we have all these inept people.
Yeah, these are all the stakes. All the stakes are happening right now.
Yeah. And so now there's all these like real life repercussions, and you had people who are not good at their jobs. And because the way that I see it now, especially now, is like politicians aren't necessarily good at getting things done. They're good at being reelected. That's what they do.
I not to jump down the politic train too hard. I mean, it's kind of hard not to in this climate, but saying politicians, I think is it's reductive. I mean, there's a lot of people who are trying to do a lot of things, and that's why bureaucracy is slow. That's why bureaucracy is inefficient, and that's why it oftentimes doesn't get it right, but gets close. And that's sort of the point of bureaucracy, is because it saves a lot of lives from having that pendulum swing too far in any direction. I mean, that's sort of the whole point.
Yeah.
But
yeah, no, I mean, you're right.
There are people who are desperately trying to do the right thing right now. And, and I think there's a lot of people trying to, probably, at least if I'm going to give some folks the benefit of the doubt, all trying to do the right thing. They just have differing opinions on what that right thing is. And therefore it gets difficult, if you're trying to run a fucking country. And like you said, and maybe you weren't educated properly to handle something like this, a crisis like this, and you did just happen to get elected, or, who knows? I mean, there's so many elections on so many, state, county, federal levels that, and all operating, trying to do something at this point. There's so many people just trying to do something right now. I can't imagine it's an easy task. There's going to be a lot of really interesting case studies, I think, that comes from this time, from the people who are documenting and paying attention and gathering data as we go, and the people who will probably be doing it for years afterwards. It's going to be a really interesting point in the history of the world to look back on and say, yeah, we did that. that was weird.
Yeah. I hope that, a lot of people are saying, like, oh, I hope we get back to normal. It's like, I don't hope we get back to like normal. I hope we get back to a changed world where,
well, it's going to be changed anyway. I mean, there's too much has happened too abruptly and caused too much damage to ever pretend to be unseen, right? Like there's going to be a lot of people and a lot of companies trying to tell us to pretend like it never happened and just to go back to living our lives. But it happened, and you can't pretend that it didn't happen and that it's not currently happening, right? So
yeah,
the world will never
did you read that
be
article
the same.
that was about the gaslighting thing?
Yes.
Yeah. Fuck, that was such a great article. So, if you guys haven't read it out there, or aren't familiar with the gaslighting term, it's basically like the act of trying to make people feel crazy by like denying like things that have happened. And, that's, exactly what Chris is talking about, is that there's going to be companies who are going to be like, no, don't worry about all that shit that happened and how most of our economy like almost collapsed after a week of not working, and it was, oh man, it was so good. And, something to keep in mind. I mean, obviously I think it's easy to say like, oh, we'll never forget this, but it's like, I don't know. We've lived through some crazy shit and people still make a lot of mistakes that you think that we wouldn't,
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. It's been a roller coaster of a few years, man. It's been, I still look back and go, oh yeah, that happened.
That was a thing. That was a thing. Yeah.
That's right. I forgot because we're doing this other thing now.
Oh my gosh. Like, so many things that we thought were going to be such a bigger deal. Like when we first started this podcast, I mean, most of the things that we were talking about was the tariffs, on wine and on,
which are still a thing.
Very much so. And we don't talk about them because it's just, they've become, irrelevant to most people's conversations. And, they're still happening. Like things are still, like the prices are going up on stuff. But
and it's likely that they're going to continue because everybody's focus is on COVID,
right?
And people aren't, how can you ask people to take their attention off of trying to fix this situation and cut down the prices? There are some lobbyists who are doing it, and God bless them. And I think some of them are using the right argument, which is, you got to keep people in business. You got to cut down these costs on them so they can stay in business. And I think that's the right motive, and that's the right sort of tact. But who knows how effective they are being in lobbying in that way.
Yeah. I mean, that was, this past week on my virtual happy hour, I had Jim Ramdal on, and, he's a brand ambassador, or I don't know, like he's part of the, I don't know what his
for
role
Nova
is.
Fogo. Yeah.
Yeah, for Nova Fogo, which is a cachaça out of Brazil. And, you know, he was talking about the fact that, you know, it takes like, I think he said like $3 or $4 to make it, you know? And, but then when you go through all the crazy taxes that country has, then the taxes that this country has, and then of course you have the 3-tier system, you know, it's like, yeah, you get up to like a 50 or 40, 50, $60 bottle.
Yeah. Pretty quick.
It gets very quickly out of hand. And, you know, and it's even the same thing with single malt whiskeys, you know, especially in Scotland. I mean, I think they, you know, some figure like 70% of the cost is all tied up in taxes. Like, Jesus Christ, you know?
Yeah, it's astounding.
And it's just like, oh my God, let's settle down, guys. But, but you know, I think we are getting a little long here. So we did want to end on what we thought was just a great, fun kind of story here. And it comes to us from Africa. So it's our second Africa story. That might be a record. But the Kenya governor, Mike Sinko, of the Kenyan capital city of Nairobi, is facing scrutiny for reportedly giving out COVID-19 care packages. Now, on the surface, seems really, really nice. In fact, I think that if you are going to require your citizens to live a certain way, wear masks and stuff like that, that having these kind of care packages available, very, very important. But he took this a step further and put in a surprise item. Now, Chris, you brought this to our attention. So, would you like to reveal what that item was?
Hell yeah, man. It was a bottle of Henny. It's full of stuff. He put bottles of Hennessy, into these care packages. And again, we don't know how many care packages or specifically where they were going. I didn't dive that deep on this. And apart from sort of like the human cost and like sad side of like, well, maybe you should be like misspending funds, like taxpayer money on booze for people. But at very least, on the surface, tip of the iceberg, this is really entertaining.
Well,
I did. Go ahead.
I was to say, like, he has his reasons for doing this.
Yeah, he said that it was throat sterilization, which I think is the best answer.
Yeah, and he also went on to say that alcohol plays a major role in the killing of the coronavirus.
Good for him.
So,
I mean, it's not right, but good for him.
Yeah, right. I mean, you kind of go back to the American sales, like, hey, we're up 55%. We should kill this thing in no time. So
that's right.
There's actually a video that you can watch where he addresses this, and actually he says this. You watch the words come out of his mouth about Hennessy being a throat sanitizer. A lot of ways I would describe Hennessy. Throat sanitizer, not one of them. And I think it is.
I did reach out to someone from Moet Hennessy and asked for a quote, and I think I wanted to share the quote, and this person will remain anonymous.
Unknown sources.
Sources, but their response was, "If I had a job, that would get me fired. I'm hoping to have a job this summer, so I'm not going to give you a quote." Which man. I think is probably the most apt response that one could give in such a situation, and I applaud it.
Right. Well, I mean, unfortunately, there are a lot of, our friends and people who are not friends who are out of the job right now. And it's, it's a bummer because, there's nothing for them to do. If you're a brand ambassador, like it's tough to find work right now or effective ways to work. So, you can't really blame the alcohol companies, but man, you gotta feel for those people.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, but I do think it's important to say again that, alcohol does not protect against coronavirus. And in fact, it can increase the risk of it according to the World Health Organization. So, It is not a throat sanitizer, and Hennessy
right.
is good on its own. You don't have to have a Coke back. That's all I'm going to say.
I will say, man, their distiller, their Master Select Hennessy is outrageously delicious. I'm not like the biggest fan of like Henny VS or even VSOP. To me, it's a little vanilla. It's well made. And so that's, I can taste bad booze a mile away, but Hennessy is not bad booze. It's incredibly well made alcohol. It doesn't fit my flavor profile, of what I enjoy. But their Master Select is just stunning. I mean, it is everything that I want in a cognac. It's freaking tasty.
Yeah, I think it for sure gets a bad rap, just due to some of its associations and stuff like that. But there's a reason that it's been around for so long, and
that's right. Yeah,
that it's a huge company. Like people, they like it. It's good. So, but that's all I got for you, bud.
That's all I got today too, man. I think that was a great conversation, and I hope people at home are enjoying this, and whoever our listener was from Ireland that we found out that we had this last week.
Yeah, we're international now.
I hope they enjoyed that too.
Yeah, we're international. So
I'm a big deal now.
We are very much so a big deal, and I hope people are enjoying it and maybe finding a little bit of solace in the weekly episodes. And I think we're all out there just trying to do different things and come up with more content for you guys. And me and Chris have talked about releasing some of the virtual happy hours on the podcast as well. So we're gonna eventually listen to those and see either how good or how bad the sound quality is, and see if it makes sense for us or not. But I mean, I've had some good conversations, and I think they'd be good content. Just kind of like a one-off, not anything that we would do consistently. But we're just trying to find cool things to do for you guys, and
and we're also just trying to stay entertained ourselves.
100%.
We got things we got to do.
Yeah. There's oh my God, there's so much truth to that. So do us a favor, go and give us that 5-star review. It really does help. And then share it with your friends. Share it with your enemies.
Not on Yelp, because fuck Yelp.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah, they fired a bunch of people too.
Good.
Couldn't have happened to a better group of people. But yeah, go out, give us those reviews. Like I said, share us, friends, enemies, family members, whatever. We want to keep building it up, and we have the listens are there. We're slowly but surely growing it, and we appreciate you guys for helping us along the journey.
All right, pimpin'.
Hey, cheers, buddy.
All right, homie.
Yeah, there we go. Did it.
The Good Bottle Podcast was recorded at the Good Bottle Shop in Sacramento, California. Music is by Leon Moore and Chase Moore. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at The Good Bottle Podcast.